Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very good evening to all of you. So, we are studying learning how to learn. Okay, so now we are here on the page number 237, and we are on chapter 14, learning surprises. Your worst traits can be your best traits. Have you ever seen someone's hand rocket up with the answer in class, right? When meanwhile, you are struggling to understand what the teacher just asked. Race car brain already has the answer, while you didn't even understand the question. It's easy to think that if you are a slower learner, then learning is not for you. But we have got some surprises in store. If you are slow than others, you can do just as well. Sometimes even better than fast learners. How can that be? We'll get to that. In this chapter, we are going to talk about a lot of learning surprises. Sometimes what you believe about learning just isn't true. Let's look at the video games. Video games are... Okay, just a second. Video games. Do your parents give you a hard time about video games? Lots of parents do. There are some bad things about video games, as you will soon see, but there is a surprise for your parents. Some types of video games can actually be helpful for your learning. In fact, certain video games can be helpful for your parents too. Action video games are great for focusing. While you are having fun, you are also learning to concentrate. When you play in an action video game, your mental mouse runs up and down a centrally important brain path. Okay? It's the focus path in your brain, and it gets wider as you use it more. Becoming a strong video gamer means that when you turn your attention to something, you can really focus. Action video game also improve your vision in some ways. You learn to pick out details better than people who don't play action style video games. You can even see better in the fog. It's not only action video games that are helpful. Game like Tetris can build your spatial abilities. That means you can learn to rotate things more easily in your mind's eye. This is an important skill in math and science. Not every type of video game is helpful. The Sims, for example, is a life simulation video game. Sounds good, but this kind of game doesn't allow you to practice what psychologists call attentional control. If you want to improve your focused or spatial thinking, research says you should stick to action or spatial kind of video games. The downside to video game is that it can be addictive. As with exercise, eating, and even learning itself, common sense is key. If video game is interfering with other parts of your life, it's time to cut back. Even if gaming is your absolute passion, you now know that exercise and taking breaks can help you perform better. So can opening your minds to other very different types of learning. So we mentioned that video games could also be useful for adults. If you are into action-style games, introduce them to your parents. Yes, action-style video games can help improve your parents' ability to focus and concentrate. Even while they are growing older, there are even action video games that are on track to be approved as drugs by the Federal Drug Administration. They can improve older people's thinking abilities. So, all enjoys a video game with his son Jacob. So the next time your mom or dad tells you that video game is bad for you, show this book to them. Too much video game is definitely bad, but some can be good. And if your parents decide to join you, it could be healthy for them too. Okay? So learn something completely different. We said that if you are a passionate video gamer, it can help your gaming to learn or do something completely different from video games. Oil painting, pole vaulting, learning to speaking Finnish, juggling, Japanese manga. As long as it's different, it can aid in unexpected ways with your video gaming. In fact, if you are passionate about anything, you can become even better at your passion if you also learn a little bit about something quite different. Why? You can get stuck in what we call rut think, right? So your mind gets so used to running along certain neural pathways that it can't easily changed. So you become less flexible in your thinking. Rut think. So this is, can you see here? So here is another way to look at it. If you decide to get great at something, you tend to want to spend all your time doing it. But the fact is, everybody else who is trying to get great at it is doing the same thing. So how can you do better than they are if you are doing exactly what they are doing? Right? So ready to be surprised again? The way to get better is to strike out in a completely different directions. You learn about something else, anything else. Whatever you learn, your brain finds a way to make those ideas useful for your main passion, often through metaphor. This important learning idea is called transfer. The brain links you create in one area allow you to more easily build links in a different area. Learning to hit a baseball, for example, can help you with many ball games and ultimately can help you better understand physics. Learning physics can assist you in learning economics and how to create more beautiful pottery. Transferring ideas from one subject or activities to another helps you to be more creative. It's like a template you can adapt from one area to another. How to take notes. So here is another learning surprise. People often think that the best way to take notes is to type them out. After all, it can be faster to type than to write by hand. And the notes are neater, right? No, writing notes by hand is better, even if you have lousy handwriting. Remember, you need to make a set of brain links out of the key ideas. Okay, so amazingly, if you just type what you are hearing, the words flow onto the page without creating a set of links into the ears, out of the hands, with no deep brain work in between. If you write by hand, you have to do some thinking about what goes onto the paper, right? So this helps start a set of brain links. Your dendritic spine begin to grow. If you review your notes one last time before you go to sleep, you can make your dendritic spine grow even better while you sleep. A good approach to note-taking is to draw a line down one side of the page, about 1/3 of the way from the edge. Write your first note in the larger section, then later, when you review them, write even brief keynotes in the smaller section, then look away and see if you can recall those key points. Test yourself, practice pulling on those links. There is no magical formula for note-taking. The basic idea is to pick out key points so that you can review them and strengthen your brain links. Do you have a poor working memory? Congratulations! Here's another learning surprise. Poor working memories are something better than strong working memory. How so? Some people have fantastic working memories. Their attentional octopus may have 8 or even more arms, and their octopus's tentacles are incredibly sticky. They can hold a lot in mind, and it stays in mind. What's not to like about that? But a poor working memory can also have upsides. If you have only 3 arms on your attentional octopus, for example, you have to work harder to make brain links out of the key ideas. You don't have enough arms on your octopus to hold many thoughts in mind, so you have to figure out ways to simplify and link the ideas together. Right? So this means the set of brain links created by a person with poor working memory can contain surprisingly elegant simplifications and creative leaps. The person with a strong working memory can find this kind of elegant creative simplification harder to do. So their strong working memory means they don't need to find ways to simplify. People with poor working memories often find thoughts slipping from their mind. Sound bad, right? But it can be good. Research shows that when one thought slips from the mind, another pops in. People with poor working memory can be especially creative. This creativity is particularly noticeable in people who have attentional disorders. We think that the term should be advantages like ADHD. People with poor working memory and focus sometimes have to work harder than others to make brain links. But the trade-off is that it can be easier for them to be more creative. They see elegant shortcuts and have ideas that others miss. The trade-off can be worth it. Hiker brains versus race car brains. So we are gradually seeing how a person who thinks slowly can sometimes do better than a race car brain person. Think about it this way. A person with a race car for a brain can get to the finish line faster. In other words, they can figure out the answer to the questions more quickly, right? So the slowly thinker, on the other hand, can get to the answer but much more slowly. Keep in mind that some people can be race cars in some subject and hikers in others, right? For the race car brain person, everything goes by in a blur. They are thinking fast and not necessarily worrying about the details. The hiker brain person, on the other hand, moves much more slowly. While they move slowly, they can reach out and touch the leaves on the trees, smell the pine in the air, hear the birds singing, and see the little rabbit trails. This means that in some ways, the hike brain can see more deeply than race car brain. So if you have a hiker brain, on some or many subjects, be happy. It may take you more time to learn something that the race car brain, but you can still learn it just fine. In fact, you can learn more richly and deeply. If you have a race car brain, you can also be happy, but you will also need to be careful not to steer off track, right? Because it can be hard for you to get back on. We will talk more about this. Later. In the next chapter, we will move on to one of the most important chapters of the book, how to prepare for test. Summing it up. Action video games can improve your ability to focus. They can also improve your vision. They can be especially useful for older people to help keep their focus strong. Special video games can improve your ability to rotate object mentally, an important skill in math and science. One drawback of video games is that, like any other pleasurable activity, they can become addictive. Use common sense to avoid overdoing it. To build your mental flexibility, learn about something completely different from your passion. You will see links that lead to creative new ideas, which help with your passion. Learning something very different also helps you to avoid rut think. Take notes by hand. It enables you to make brain links out of the key ideas more easily. A poor working memory can be a good thing. It can allow you to see elegant simplification that others miss. Be more creative. Slow thinkers can understand a subject or problem just as well as fast thinkers. Slow thinkers may need more time, but they can sometimes actually understand the subject better than the fast thinkers. Right? Now you try. Write it down. So, physiotherapists help treat people's physical problems by using movement. Spanish physiotherapist Elena Benito says, as a physiotherapist, I know that the hand has many connections in our brain, right? So each handwritten letter sends extraordinary amounts of information back and forth between our brain and our hand. So Elena Benito knows how important movement can be in helping us to understand something different we are trying to learn. So Elena advises, when you don't understand some items you are studying, maybe a mathematical formula or a really long sentence, just write it down once, twice. Sometimes this helps you make sense of it. Writing it down can help you jump mental barriers and install the information deeply in another place in our brain where it is processed differently. Next time you encounter something you find difficult to understand, try Elena's trick. Write it down. Okay, thank you. I think that's enough for today, inshallah. We'll do it tomorrow. Yes, thank you for joining to me and listening to me patiently. Jazakallah khair. And please share it with others and press bell icon so that whenever we go live, you get notification. Sometimes we just want to read, we want to study, but we don't have time, or we just don't remember when it will be live. So when you press bell icon after subscribing the channel, you get so you get the notification so that you could be focused on I have to study. Thank you. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.